So already the semi-finals of the Sydney Sevens are here, and this matchup is an absolutely massive one. South Africa taking on the Flying Fijians. What promises to be a very epic encounter. The winner of this game will be going on to the final to face either France or New Zealand. But throughout this preview, we'll be looking at previous fixtures, key players to watch for both sides, and then also a prediction at the end. But nonetheless, we'll jump straight into previous fixtures for Fiji. They had a very good pool stage. Being a part of Pool D, they were undefeated, winning 3 from 3. Their first game was up against Tonga. They were able to win it quite comfortably, 52 points to 7. Then their next matchup, it was up against Japan. They won it 54-0. So their points differential heading into that last game up against France was already almost over 100, which is absolutely crazy to have in just 2 matches. They had scored 106 points in 28 minutes of rugby. So to say they got off to a good start in Sydney is quite the understatement. Then they had the more challenging game of the group stage. It was up against France, a side who are sitting in the other semi-final at the moment. But Fiji did manage to win that game, 19 points to 12, which gave them some confidence heading into their next game, which was going to be up against Great Britain. And that was the quarterfinal fixture. They did win it, 26 points to 14. Great Britain, they did play well throughout that fixture, but in the end, Fiji just scoring a few too many tries, making it too hard for Team GB to catch up. So those are the fixtures for the Fijians. Looking through at South Africa's previous games, they did have their first opening match up against Kenya. They won it 31 points to 5. It's quite a one-sided affair there. Then they did have to play up against Uruguay. Bit of a dark horse at the moment on the 7th circuit. But the Blitzboks able to win that one, 28 points to 12. Then they came up against New Zealand, which was probably their most challenging game. So a bit of a similar pattern for both of these sides, South Africa and Fiji, both playing their hardest game of the pool stage as their final matchup. 17 points to 14, the last minute drop kick from Ricardo James Duarte to win it for the South Africans, 17 points to 14. In the Blitzboks, they moved on to the quarterfinals. They were up against Ireland, and similar to Fiji, they did also score 26 points. Ireland, they managed to get themselves 12. It's actually kind of similar paths for these two sides, as they do now go head-to-head for the semi-final. Looking through at key players. First of all, for Fiji, I will go first of all with Joshua Bukunarabili, mainly because he's an absolute unit, and no one makes tackling that man look easy. Not even some of the big players in the 7th circuit, and his offload game throughout the Sydney Sevens has been absolutely brilliant, and that is what Fiji need to do. Keep that ball alive, not allow South Africa to go for that turnover in the breakdown, as that is somewhere the Blitzboks can be quite handy, although Fiji do get themselves a fair few throughout matches as well. Next key player, I will actually go Jerry Tawai. Now, he did have a bit of a rough game up against France, giving away a couple penalties in the breakdown for having hands on the ground, whereas in his next game in the quarterfinals, he won a couple penalties using the exact same technique. So, depending a little bit on how this one is refereed, will either determine if Jerry Tawai has a great game or he has an average game. And I think this one's going to be one that he has a great game in. Just that extra bit of experience going to be needed up against the Blitzboks side, who are definitely looking to go all the way in the Sydney Sevens comp. I think that experience could be absolutely massive. And then the last man, I am going to go with Filippo Bucayaro. We didn't see him a huge amount in that quarterfinal, mainly in the later stages of the contest up against Great Britain. His pace and skill, I think, is something that they could use off the bench to their advantage. I easily could have gone Nadovalo. He's been absolutely everywhere for the Fijians. But I've decided Bucayaro, my final man to watch out for Fiji. Now looking through at South Africa. First of all, Ricardo James Duarte, the first player that I am going with. He's just a pocket rocket of energy. And no matter the time of the game, that man's still bouncing on his toes, ready to go for tackles, ready to make a line break if he needs to. And just that little bit of extra energy that he possesses can almost be contagious for the other Blitzboks players. So that is why I have gone with him as my first Blitzboks player to watch. The second player is going to be Sean Williams. He absolutely nailed the cross kick in the game up against the Irish, and the fact that he's thinking about kicking options might end up with the opposition caught in two minds. Can use that to his advantage, either pierce the line or maybe even go for one of those kicks and see if it does pay off. And then the last man for the South Africans, I will go with Zane Davids. Now, we've seen the injury for Ryan Oosthuizen, so it does mean Zane Davids is getting a little bit more time out on the field. And pound for pound wise, probably the best chance to be able to handle the Kunarabili. I mentioned that not many people on the 7th circuit can. Zane Davies is a maybe in that department. I feel like those two, if they ran straight at each other, the players around them would probably get the ripple effect as if the ground's just been shaken. But those two going head to head, it's going to be absolutely awesome to see who comes out on top, and also, of course, whose team does end up walking away with the victory. But speaking of victories, we're up to the score prediction stage, and I'll be honest, I'm drawing a blank for this game. It's extremely hard to tell which South African side's going to show up for day 3, what Fijian side's going to show up for day 3. In terms of momentum, who's going to have it, no one really knows. I'm going to go with the slightly safer bet, and I am going to go with who I said at the start of the Sydney Sevens competition is going on to win the whole thing, and that was Fiji. So I am going to go Fiji narrowly clutch this game by 5 points, and we'll say it's about maybe around that 19 points to 14 mark, somewhere around there for this exciting matchup. But thank you all very much for tuning in. We will be doing the live commentary of this game on the channel, so be sure to check that out as well. Let me know your score predictions down in the comments below. But thank you all very much for tuning in, and I will see you all for the next one.